It's ready to go.
Hey people, it's Anne. Look, we're 2 minutes early. Oh my gosh, we're bucking the curve today. I thought it was going to be late because Kiri needed like extra outs. But good morning, hello. Hey Quindy and Retired Android and Rax and poof, a wild Rax appears. And Jedi Jared and Anki and Planer. So today is our AMA, and I have sheets full of questions. Um, Pretty much wrote down as many as I thought I could get through in an hour, and if I run through it all, then I'll either go online and grab some more, or we'll just like call it so that we still have content for our next one, which you guys are getting to pretty quickly with the amount of subs. Right, Justin? How many subs are we up to?
We are currently at, I believe, 12.
Yeah, right. So we're almost halfway to our next AMA, so we need to get this AMA out of the way. Yeah, I know, Robin, right? I was just like, I have so much to do today. I'm like, I'm going to get into it. I have to finish cleaning out my office today. That's my goal, to finish cleaning out what is now going to be Sadie's office at Reaper, at least until somebody fights her for it. But she's, I suppose when we switch the paint department to the new building, that she'll have to get a new office. But she really wants mine because it has a window, and that's like prime territory. Um, so yeah, hey guys. Yeah, how are you today, Justin?
I still have a cough, but I mean, I feel fine.
Yeah. Is it like better, worse cough? Is it about the same?
No, it's about the same. I mean, I picked up some Mucinex yesterday, so now it's a lot more phlegmy today, and
Yes,
that's
a lot
probably
more
an overshare,
productive.
but
Yes, that's good.
correct.
Hey, Anthracia. It's our AMA day today. It's time for the first AMA from getting our 30 subs. So we're already 12 subs towards that next one. So this is our AMA. So you can be staring at my face a lot. Justin sounds bungy. Oh well, that's fine. He's not here to talk all day. It's me. Hey, Coops. Hey everybody. Hey everybody. Hey everybody. Alrighty. So I'm reminding you to take your Mucinex. Are you in the same boat, Rhonda? With phlegmy lungs? Um, oh, yeah. There's so much crazy.
Yeah, it's possible. It's just allergies, but I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, there's colds going around right now, too. So, nobody knows what anything is, pretty much. And it's just, of course, just more like, not knowing is bad. So for those of you who have not put in questions for me on the Discord, the Reaper Discord, Planer just linked to it. Join it if you have not. In the Questionable Anne channel, you can drop questions for me to answer. Like the one yesterday that got dropped in chat needs to go in there. Like that, it was the most difficult challenge I surmounted on my way to becoming a better painter, because I would like to answer that one. So I'm not going to answer it today because there are many questions in front of it. Kinda Anthracia, but there's a lot more questions due to this. And like usually on the AMA for Painting Big, I only got through a few questions because it was only like 20 minutes. Like I didn't want it to go beyond 25 or 30. Here it's like an hour. But yeah, especially since we don't have it on Painting Big so much anymore on my Patreon, I thought that this was a good reward. Because you don't want to always, especially with me moving, we didn't want to give away physical rewards on this show. So the AMA seemed like a good reward to give away for people who are watching this. So that's why we went that way. I can still do private AMAs for you guys on the Patreon, but when I did polls, people didn't really seem to like there were other things that got them more excited. So I'm kind of happy. The $15 tier, I know, is very happy that I switched to the paint along. They're very happy with the paint along. So at least that's what they've told me. Right. So anyway, so that's kind of what we're doing. But I've got a lot of questions and we're good. Let's see here. I went to, post-convention cough. Yeah. Last con in America. Plus allergies. Yeah. Well, hey, we still have online, right? I'm just happy I can stream from home when Justin is, like, plagued. Yeah, because my tutorials are so good if you don't have any questions. Thank you, Andres. Yeah, thank you. Yes, knowledge is best reward ever. And it very is suitable for this show. It's a very, very suitable reward for this show. Alrighty, so let's get to it. I've got all my questions. I went on the Questionable Anne last night, and I started at the very beginning. So these are some earlier questions. Planar Crossroads is the first one. What is my funniest painting story? Well, gosh, there were so many good painting stories. I usually tell a lot of little, stories as I go through all my stuff of things that have happened in the past. But probably my favorite is the thing that I actually had as my SIG line on the Reaper forums for a very long time, which was when Amy Brem, who used to paint for Reaper, got her start. She was painting, and Jennifer Haley was at one of our, Reaper cons or artist cons. I don't remember what it was. It might have been after a Reaper con where we were all painting together. And Amy came and showed Jennifer her model, and Jennifer looked at her and went, "I've got some acetone in the car if you need it." And it still is my favorite because Jen was trying to help, right? Because she had spotted a part on Amy's Mini that really probably needed to be spot stripped and repainted. But Amy was devastated because she didn't immediately realize what Jen was getting at, and she thought that Jen meant strip the whole thing. And it was hilarious, actually. You felt bad for poor Amy, but it was really hilarious, especially with Jennifer being probably the top mini painter in the country at that point. When you hand it to the expert and they're here, I've got some stripping solution in the car. So it was actually not harsh because Jen was in the tone of voice was helpful Planer, but it was hilarious and because it was so Jennifer, because Jennifer is sometimes just very blunt, right? So I loved it. I love that quote. I had it on my SIG line it may still be my SIG line. Yes, have a good time. So afterwards Jen's no, I mean this part, but it was just funny how it came out. So that's still my favorite thing that has happened. There's so many good, funny stories and stuff. I've told the story about Ed coming into that. Well, I don't know if I've told this one in a long time, but when John Bono first joined Reaper, he was helping me paint a lot of stuff just for advertising, just fast paint. And it's stuff would go up in ads, and I'd looked at it one time and I was like, wow, I can't sell your crappy work for my crappy work. And that was another great one. That went up on the Reaper quote board. I was keeping a quote board for a while because there were several memorable ones. So we're in our AMA for those who are just now showing up. And our next question is from White Wolf. And he says, is Rusty Red from HD ever coming back? And if not, is there a recommended replacement? Honestly, I doubt it will come back. It was kind of a niche color. A lot of people don't like the orangey, brownish reds. They don't know how to use them, and they can be actually very difficult to use as far as finding colors that go well with them. because they're very orangey and they're very red and they're very saturated. So it gets a little difficult to use those. But in any case, it wasn't a great seller, but Cinnamon Red from Bones may be a fairly good replacement for you. If you haven't checked it out, I think it's 9404. It is also a very, very vibrant brownish red. It's not quite the same pigments, but it gives you much similar effect. I actually really like Cinnamon Red. Let's see here. Yeah. The other thing you could try to do is to mix clear red with like something like Rust Brown 9072, but it's not quite the same pigments. Again, it's not quite going to give you the same results. So I think Cinnamon Red, if you want that saturated level, is probably your best bet. Cyclone, thank you. We are now up to 13 subs for our next AMA. Yeah, Corby, well, try Cinnamon. If you really liked Rusty, try Cinnamon. They're very similar. They have a similar feel. And yeah, and Cinnamon looks very organic also because of the oxides in it, which is the same thing that gave Rusty Red that. It's just different oxides, slightly different composition. So that's why it's going to be slightly different. But, you know, I never will put out. The thing is, everybody asks me for equivalents and things like this when colors get canceled. The problem is, because I don't want to screw you guys over, all of the colors that I have made are slightly different from each other. I don't want you to pick up a bottle of something in the new paint line and go and look at your old paint line and go, oh, this is the same as Forest Green, you know, stuff like that. I don't ever want that to happen. If you're spending money on a paint, it should be a different paint that can be used slightly differently from anything else in our line. So when you ask me for an equivalent or a match, unless we have specifically tried to match something that was canceled in the past, you're not going to get a yes answer. You're going to get, well, this is close. Or you can mix it like this, maybe. But it's just, I always felt that foundationally in creating the paint line, it was more important to give you guys different colors, not give you the same thing under a new name. So that's just my ethics. But yeah, do try the Cinnamon Red. I really think it's a pretty color. I like it a lot. I actually like it a little better than Rusty Red. So hopefully you like it too. Alrighty, Chris Air, what is the best way to paint gems with multiple facets? Complicatedly. This is one that's going to have to be the subject of a pro tips in the future. There's no way I can explain it in 5 minutes. And it's something that I had to screw around with a bit until I was happy with it. But the best thing you can do, and I say this all the time, but you really need to look at photo references. Most gemstones, at least in necklaces and rings and such, are going to be photographed in a softbox, but it's still, and sometimes that can give you kind of like multi-directional light, and that can be difficult. But you should be able to find some examples online of them like being photographed with a strong light from the top. That usually lets the facets show up maybe a little better. I was able to find pictures. Look up what you're trying to paint. Are you trying to paint amethyst? Are you trying to paint emerald? Are you trying to paint what? You can even like use the names like round or what are some of the other names for cut gemstones? Princess is kind of that one, and then rounds, and then squares, and there's a whole bunch of names for different gemstone cuts. But when you look at it, don't get overwhelmed. Just notice where the light is in the gem and how the facets are changing in color. And I'll do a show on it probably. There's only a couple of models that have that sort of thing, like Crystal Golems and Crystal Dragons, or Gemstone Dragon, and the Rock Troll has a faceted gem on his back, so I'll probably use him because it's simple. But there's no easy. Caprera, go and put that question on the Discord in Questionable Anne. I'm not actually going to take any questions from the chat today. I am favoriting all the things that people have already written down in the forum or in the channel. So if you want that answered in the next one, and it's a great question to ask, please go put it in the channel, or have somebody else put it in the channel for you if you're not part of the Discord. But you should be part of the Discord because it's a very active Discord and cool, and that way you can always put your questions in there and I'll answer them. Yep, and Planer just linked to the Discord. The level of detail is beyond you. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to have to do a actual tutorial on this with painting. I can't just describe it for you. What I just gave you is just like how I start, when I'm trying to paint a gemstone, because it is complicated. It is not easy. It is one of the hardest things to do. So this is a case where try it by all means, but don't expect to like really grok it until you have a little bit more. Like usually it helps to understand OSL, like lighting, helps to understand NMM, helps to understand translucent, like hair. Once you start understanding how light passes through a translucent surface or an opaque surface and how the differences are, then it helps you. Then you can kind of start to understand how gemstones are activated. Kiri, I'm just looking at my dog, waiting to see if I have a dog emergency. I don't think I have a dog emergency. Planar, I pretty much just went straight down. In fact, if you look in the questionable and, you will see that I went straight down the list. So I did not skip any questions. So it goes pretty much to like 225. I think my last question is the difference between solid white, pure white, and dragon white. So. Oh yeah, that Ground Zero's got a good thing there. I don't know if it's possible to insert it, but yeah. Anyway, okay. I don't agree with that, Robin. I don't think we should just give people everything. They should have to watch the show. I don't think we should just give them short notes in the Discord. For one thing, it's going to take up a crap ton of space, and for another thing, I think it's better if you actually get all the context, because I'm not just answering in one sentence on a lot of this stuff, I'm also explaining stuff. So I think you lose a lot if you try to cram all this into the Discord. Plus, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And Planer has a point. She doesn't get paid for this. She does this out of the goodness of her heart, so giving her a crap ton of work doesn't make sense. So, and maybe I can do this in a big write-up for my Patreon, because then I am getting paid for it, and I'm also getting paid to do this, so then it would be extra content. So I can consider doing that. Yeah, and people miss the end chat. See, the Shadow Raven's got it. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. And yeah, I don't know. There will be some visual examples. Depends. All right, so let's go. Let's get on with this. Amish cab driver. How do I clean and store my brushes to maintain a point and keep them from fraying? Wow, actually, he wants to know how I particularly do it, and I'm terrible at brush care. Well, not really. So my brushes definitely have their issues. I am actually going to go to Minicam for a second. So, all right. So here we got several brushes. Now, I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. Actually, Miss Stimp and writing a book is one of my goals for later on in the Patreon. It's a really high dollar amount because of the amount of time it would take me to write and to paint all the examples and to get it laid out and to get it published. In fact, I'd probably have to kickstart the publishing for all I know. But yes, me finally writing after 20, people have been asking for 20 years for me to write a painting book, and I just never had the time. While I was at Reaper, but once I am freelance and going Patreon, if Patreon gets high enough, I will definitely start working on it. All right, so brushes. Now, what I just did is just wet them down, and they looked kind of splayy before I wet them down, and now they look great. So really the key here is you're never going to stop your brush from looking kind of frayed after it's been sitting around for a while. It's always going to kind of go a little wonky when it's dry. Unless you put conditioner in it. You can put human hair conditioner in it, and that will reshape and give it a nice point, and it's a way to train a brush that may have gone a little bit awry. I do not think we've yet done transcripts or closed captions. I'm sorry, Rina.
I am. I'm working on getting some of that done, live for Twitch. But on the outside of that, I'm actually considering getting something together so that our YouTube videos have captioning. So
that would be good. Captioning is great. Yeah. And so, all right. But even this brush, which was just kind of floofy, when I added water to it, now it keeps it a nice point. So you gotta understand that brushes are usually going to poof a bit, especially natural hair brushes. They're just naturally going to get their oils depleted. And like I said, you can totally get normal hair conditioner and put it in your brush in between painting. Just leave it in and then just rinse it out before you start painting. But really what I'm worried about is when I add fluid to my brush, does it still make a good point? And if it does, then I'm great. So I actually don't use conditioner. I don't use brush soap. The only thing I do is if I really abuse a brush and I get a big poof, I will use this Winsor & Newton brush cleaner and restorer. If you've got a real poof brush or a brush that you can see there's a big dark band at the bottom of the brush, that means there's paint that's up here in the ferrule. So this stuff, I'll pour a little bit into my well palette, into one of the wells, and then I'll pretty much just smoosh the brush back and forth like this to kind of work gently the cleaner and restorer up into the ferrule, and then I'll grab a paper towel and I'll wipe it off, and then I'll dip it again and I'll work it, and I'll wipe it off until I can't see the dark band at the bottom anymore, and I'm seeing clean when I'm rubbing it off on the paper towel. When it comes out clean, then I know it's good. Now, after using this would be a good time to use some conditioner, although I usually don't. Like, I seldom need to do this. The reason probably is that I seldom need to clean my brushes. Is that one, I rinse them compulsively while I'm painting, so I'm very seldom allowing paint to dry up in the ferrule. And for the second thing, I just tend, I only dip a little bit of my brush into the paint. Like, I keep a separate brush for mixing, a crappy brush that I've decided to abuse, and I don't care if it gets all of its paint up in the ferrule. And so usually when I'm painting, I'm only dipping like, a third to a half of the bristles in the paint. So I just naturally don't get more paint up here, so I don't have to clean my brushes very often. As far as storing them, right now I store them flat. If I'm traveling with them, I have a little tackle box thing. I put the tubule back on. So always keep your tubules. You need your tubules. And if you lose your tubules, perhaps you can, get some people used to say fish tank air hose, but getting the right size can be hard. I just keep a bunch of tubules around so that I always have something to put on my best brushes at the very least. And then try to carry them upright. Some people use the rolling mats. For a while they were using sushi mats, and there were cloth inserts you could put your brushes into, and then you rolled them up and they stayed. But I haven't seen one of those for a while. So you could probably manufacture something or have something sewed. And there may even be awesome brush carriers out there. I know that I sometimes use colored pencil carriers. I forget which company I have, but they make essentially pencil carriers, big ones, and they have the little stretchy straps that you can put your pencils in. It works for brushes too, and it keeps them from smushing their points. So yeah, I mean, if you need brush cleaner and restorer, rock it. I honestly don't use it much. Great stuff in the chat as well, for tips and tricks and stuff. But yeah, if you rinse your brush a lot and you make sure to only dip a little bit of your brush in the paint, and you're using a lot of thin paint, you shouldn't need to clean too much. Some people are really compulsive about it. Don't feel bad if you are. I guess I just like go for it. Like, only if a brush is giving me a lot of trouble am I going to look at it and think, would this help by cleaning? Would cleaning help this brush? But usually I don't even run into it. So yeah, so there's some tips for storage, tips for cleaning. At home I have a jar where they all sit with their tips up. So that helps to, keep them from being smushed against things on my desk. Let's see. Going back. Oh! You guys are gonna get the paint splash again. Hold on, because I forgot to deactivate it. There we go. All right, now I have deactivated it. There, we had a blooper. It wouldn't be an AMA if we didn't have a blooper, right? All right, poster tag. Yeah, you can also poster tag the handles. Rhonda has a great idea. That's great. Yeah, a box or anything that poster tag works. You could even use the sushi mat thing if you used mounting putty or something and roll them up in it. Yeah, Maldorak, that's probably the reverse. Reaper Luna Paint Kit, but it doesn't hold all your brushes. If you're like me, you usually you keep 4 or 5 around that you may use. But yeah, okay. So Vimanaqua decided to ask the question that takes forever to answer, which is, how is Reaper paint made and what makes it different from other hobby store acrylic paints? All right, I'm going to give the short answer. Because I can't walk you through how to make Master Series, or everybody will know how to make Master Series. But short answer is, what makes this paint line different is that it was made by a miniature painter for miniature painters. It was made by me. And I purposefully made it so that it would work with the style of painting that I'm used to utilizing, as opposed to the thicker bodied paints out there. As far as I know, Master Series is still unique in its properties as far as its finish, consistency, base resins, and everything else. The way Master Series works isn't like anything else on the market. And most of the reason for that is that most other paint companies have gone for coverage over functionality beyond coverage. So what I mean for that is, you only need coverage during 2 techniques. You need it for, 3 if you count dry brushing. You need it for base coating, And maybe you need it for wet blending, except I don't think you really need it for wet blending if you've got a good base coat down. So after that, all of the other techniques you do, layering, glazing, textures, fine detail, all require thinned paint. So you want a paint that's going to get to that consistency and stay there and not separate and get there with a minimum of work. Because some of those thicker body paints take forever to thin down to the point where you can actually layer with them or use them for thinned applications consistently, like glazing. I wanted something a bit different. So that's a big reason Master Series is different. Our base resins are very different from other companies because we went for a different goal than they did. I wanted something that would be amazing when thinned. It wouldn't fall out of solution, that would stick to the model better, stuff like that. And so I focused on a very hard resin paint, which means it's more transparent, but you can do all those other things with it. And I think there's room for both types of paint in the hobby. I'm surprised a little bit that nobody else has decided to go for what we go for. So, all right, let's see. Meldark, not so much. I mean, depends, right? But as long as you keep your base coat open, you don't need a super thick paint to cover up mistakes. I mean, maybe a 3-to-1 thinned. And the thing is about covering up mistakes is you don't want to use a thick paint because you don't want to build up like a layers or chunkiness or getting the globbiness look. So use a paint that still like covers, but just put a couple of brush strokes over the top with a smooth paint and it'll perfectly cover it up. But yeah, black stripe on white tabard. That's one of the things. I still wouldn't use full strength paint though. I want the finish. I want it to stay smooth. I don't want to get any globs. So I'm just going to put like 3 coats on it. Do it like a 4-to-1 paint to water. White is such a 18 layers. That it should never take that. Like never. Not if you're like using it at any amount of thickness. That's just or if it's not being shaken up. But 18, never. Like our paint should never take that. Not unless you're layering. Like if you've got it really thin. But yeah, that can be hard. The other thing you could do is mask off the model and just prime white over it. I guess that might work. Yes. Perhaps slight exaggeration. Exactly. Yeah, be careful of that, Caprera. There are problems with gel extenders. They will affect various parts of the paint. Finish and adhesion, notably. So be careful how much you use. Just a tiny bit, you should be fine. Okay. So those are the main things. That and I mean hobby store paints, a lot of the times they're not focusing on pigment count. That's now different. There's a lot of artist lines that are coming out from Europe, like Chimera Colors and Scale 75's new artist line, that are very highly pigmented, where the pigmentation has become a priority for them. But up to that point, that was not the case. So usually you had the mental mindset that I noticed when I came into the industry, which was we want to hit the color. We don't care. We want to use a minimum amount of pigment so we can keep our margins, our margin down so that we can make more money on our paint. Because the more pigment you load into a paint, the more expensive that paint is per bottle. And it's some pigment is bloody expensive. So when you're talking $100 a can, and that's only 16 ounces, and you use a lot of that in some colors, so it varies by the color, just like it does in artist paints. But so I always had I want to hit the color, but I also want a lot of pigment in there. So that also puts us apart from several other paint lines, and certainly from craft paint. Like craft paint is like made at the lowest margin you could possibly want, because like guys, they wouldn't sell it for $1 a bottle if it was really good. Sorry. Let's see here. All right. Let's see here. Sidestorm. Will Anne ever paint up a werewolf like my doggo? Because I talked about it, right? So all right. Like the question is, I actually did this as a basing demo for one of my people. But here is the potential Kiri. See, since I based it, I may as well actually paint it eventually. But I always thought this this werewolf would look good as Kiri. So if I do it, we'll do this one, and I'll paint her facial markings. She has a good face. And she also has a face that's kind of shaped like Kiri. This is a Julie Guthrie sculpt from our old Warlord line. She's one of the lupines. So I've always thought this was one of the nicest female werewolves out there. So if we paint a werewolf like Kiri, we will do it on this dog. This base is so easy, Nomad Zeke, not even funny. Silverthorn, of course you did. I can talk nonstop on any topic. But that's not always Meldrake, because a lot of that is base as well. There are several components. I can't go into paint chemistry here. I've got too many questions to cover, but be aware that pigment is not the only thing that influences coverage on your miniature. Additives and base resin will influence it hugely. So anyway, so if I do a miniature about that looks like kiwi, that will be the miniature I use. Let's see here. What do we got? We're almost halfway through. We're at 11:26. Painting a see-through mini so that one side is painted and the other is clear. Viman Aqua. And you know what? There's a question from Rignace that plays into this later on how to paint a translucent figure to take advantage of the translucency. So we're going to go back and I'm going to talk about the water weird because for those that missed that whole session, if you go back to pro tips when I was doing the water weird, all of that is about exactly those questions. And so I'm going to use it as a reference. Hey, hi, HM Rodog. Yeah, Maldrack, it's not your fault, right? You don't know paint chemistry. It's like, it's not your job to know paint chemistry. Yeah, well, there's also, Maldrack, a lot of misinformation on the internet from people who actually don't make paint and so don't know. They're only working off of what they've noticed and they think they know. So, and a lot of people will tell you that the pigment count is what makes more coverage, and to a point that's true. Like some pigments, if you add them in greater quantity, will give better coverage. But you can put you can triple your count of, say, clear magenta, of magenta pigment in a paint, and it's not going to get any more coverage. It's just, going to be overpigmented. So there are some pigments that naturally do not cover as well because of their pigment grind. And I think I may have talked about that briefly in a previous show, but I do not remember it. So essentially, just keep in mind, always take everything with a grain of salt as far as painters trying to tell you why something is. Because they may be right, they may not be right. But there are some pigments that just aren't going to cover without help, no matter how much you put in there. But yeah, all right, so so let's talk about clears. All right, Water Weird. Water Weird. You guys remember this guy? Some of you will remember him. Alrighty. So the Water Weird. There are things to remember when you are painting clear minis, and this will also apply if you are trying to paint a translucent mini to look like it is fading. So, first of all, if you're painting a translucent model, let me see here. One side is painted and the other. All right, so taking advantage of translucency. So if you're going to take advantage of translucency, the key is you've got to keep most of it translucent. And the things that you're going to choose to shade and highlight, like I shaded here and I highlighted here on the little tips, the things you should choose to shade and highlight are the things that are going to bring out the details on the sculpt. So for this guy, I wanted to bring out his face. I wanted to kind of bring out this line in his neck because it's kind of where the water is like moving and splooshing around. Same down here. I wanted to bring out these little bits of droplets, all the little things that make this more of a watery figure. And when you do the shading, use a clear. You don't have to use our clears, although they work. I used the clear phthalo on this one. You could also have just used clear blue. Because they're just going to be a little more transparent, so they're going to work a little better with this sort of thing. So I've got my clear blue painted into the shadows. And I used it as kind of a wash to bring out the teeth. And then when you bring out other details, go up a little. So if this was a fire model instead with an orange plastic, I would probably use clear red in the shadows, or even clear magenta. Clear magenta might actually look better for magical fire. And then I'd go up and use like brighter oranges and yellows, really bright ones, to bring out the different licks of flame, right? To make it, to emphasize the shapes that make it look like fire. But everything else gets left clear. Otherwise, you're going to lose it. You're just going to lose your clearness. Like, part of why this looks good is that I've still got the clear going on. So, let me see. This is a Bones Mini. Actually, it's been out for a while. And it was from, Bones 2 ages ago. Like, this is my favorite clear that we've ever done, by the way. Which is why I chose to paint it. I think it looks fantastic. I think the fact that it's coming out of the stone well means that you can actually make it look like it is water coming up because you can paint the basing, which is another thing I would do is if you're painting a clear mini, add it to a base and paint the base opaquely so that the mini has something to contrast. So yeah, but this is a great, thank you, Teslanch, 77310. So this is a great clear to play with and practice on. It's got some nice details in the sculpt. And the thing is, always remember that if you're going to shade or highlight on one side, especially shading, it's going to show through on the other side. So I shaded here. I didn't do any shading at all on the other side of the neck, but you can still see that thread of dark blue right here. So keep in mind that it is clear, and the blue is more clear than many things. I know some of our clears look a little bit more opaque, so you're going to get less of that. You're going to get less transmission. Now, if I was going to paint this as if the water weird was stone and becoming water, I would pretty much take this gray and thin it down and just work it up slightly here. Likewise, if you're painting a model that's a clear, that's an invisible, pretty much paint like half of it like you normally would. And then at the point where you go from painted to unpainted, that's where you got to start thinning your paint and just kind of make it glaze a little bit. And the way to do that, really, the only way to do that is to make sure you wash your bones beforehand like I do, because otherwise using thinned paint right over bones is just fraught with peril, as most of you know, if you don't wash it first. So don't put a sealer on it, because if you put a matte sealer over a bones like this, it will make it frost. It won't keep the clarity. And if you put a gloss sealer over the top of it, you're not going to be able to get paint to stick to it. So it's kind of this dance. But yeah, so once you've got it washed, I usually use hot water, just a bit of dish soap. I throw it in my plastic mixing bowl and I swoosh it around real thoroughly, and then I rinse it off and let it dry overnight. And that means that I can get away with using thinner colors. So then when you've got your adventurer who you want to be going half invisible, you can paint half of it normally, and while you've got those colors open, kind of make it fade a little bit into the invisible part. Like just real thinned paint, and just kind of build it up a little bit so that you've got a little bit of a fade. It doesn't even have to be perfect. And on these models, sometimes it's hard to get perfect. Like I can still see brush strokes on my blue here, but it'll be good enough, right, to transmit the effect. Wash your bones is totally awesome and easy, and you should always do it. But yeah, so I think that's everybody on that. But I love the water weird. Yes, he's good. And he answers 2 questions for me. And I had him here as an example for you guys. So that is awesome. Let me see what I got coming up next. Interesting. All right, so big bases for creatures is next from Rox, and Rox is actually here, I believe. So let me turn off my my little light, and yeah, I actually think he looks even a little bit better without the light directly on him. This is kind of like gemstones, actually. This relates to our earlier question about gemstones. Do you see how the light is actually hitting this part of the figure, but there's a huge highlight down below? That's because light is traveling through the transparent material and bouncing off the other edge. This is a strong hint as to how to deal with gemstones. We'll get to that. All right, back to face. Face cam. Hello, I'm back. Let's see here. So we're talking about big bases, and I believe the exact photo put up was an ankylosaur, which is, pie plate or DVD-sized base. So this is another one where it's hard to do anything that doesn't need to be, like, it really needs to be demoed, but at the same time, it's a horrible thing to demo because every large model is going to be a little bit different. The best I can say, and I used this the other day a bit, is deal with cork. Cork is your easy friend. Sculpey or Fimo is also a pretty easy friend to get height on the base or get features on the base that will make it not just a flat thing. I also recommend using like Abe's epoxy sculpt, or I guess green stuff, though green is a little bit more expensive to use in this type of manner. You could also use something like wood putty or plaster just to make the base, make sure you make a note where your model's feet are going to be, because that needs to be level, but just to make the base a little irregular. You need something that will bulk up the base. I like big bases and I like them round, yes. Let's see here. But yeah, as far as basing goes, what I find helpful is getting some height on things. So for me, in like mini dioramas or for 54 or 72 millimeter models, I like using cork because it's a good cheap alternative that you can build up in layers and get some naturalistic textures with. Actually, Ms. Werewolf that I showed you earlier, her base, the rocks on her base are cork. Hold on. All right, so there. So these rocks are made by just breaking off little pieces of this cork, and they make a great rocky, you can see the texture there. They make a great rocky texture as you break off little chunks of them. You can use the flat side of the cork to just go face down onto the flat base. And then, I guess Werewolf is a kind of a good example. I decided not to build her up because she's a slot base, But if I'd wanted to put her up on something, I would cut off the slot of base, build up that base, and put her on top of it. A lot of times with big models, putting them up a little bit, like making a raised area of the base for them to stand on, is a lot more impressive and looks a lot better than just putting them on flat. With her, I ended up just landscaping flat, and so it wasn't too bad, and it definitely puts the emphasis on the model. Do we have a raid? Oh, yes, we do. Art of Mike Disney, thank you. Hey, Mike, we're on our AMA today. Welcome, everybody. So I essentially, when we hit 30 subs for the month on this channel, on my my painting stream, I'm Anne from Reaper Miniatures, I do an AMA as the quote-unquote giveaway. We give away free knowledge. Woohoo! So today we're in the middle of our giveaway and the AMA, and people asked about essentially doing base work for bigger models. So I was showing them a werewolf that I just did a demo base on, and somebody asked about things like Ankylosaurus, dinosaurs, stuff like that. So I was just saying that you can do the flat work like this and just put rocks and stones and various like tree branches. You can get those through Woodland Scenics. They sell little twigs that look like trees at this scale. That all helps. But also building up a space for your model to stand on. So for this model, she's on a slotted base, so I chose to just base her flat. But had she had an integral base, I probably would have raised her up a bit, because that can be a good way to adding elevation. So it's not just a big flat base is a really good idea. Ask Anne anything. A AAA. Yeah, but I think that's trademarked. So yeah, I mean, the thing is, when you're doing big basing or when you're basing models, when you're trying to think of scenic basing, you've got to think about where the model is. That should be your first question. Is like, well, where is this model? Like, you could Google and say, what type of terrain did ankylosaurs live in, right? And find out that it was swamp or it was prairie, or that they were actually probably lived in the forests, and they can extrapolate that from where they found ankylosaur skeletons. So jump off of that idea. Look for a jumping off point. Look for a piece of information that is jumping off point. The other thing you can do is, because there's plenty of paintings of dinosaurs out there, is just Google T-Rex art or ankylosaur art. Look for National Geographic. Go to James Gurney's site. Things like that. Look for artwork that maybe could give you an idea of something you could do on the basing that would be natural, right? So I actually use super glue, Dr. Bob, for gravel to talk about specifics. Actually, we just did a basing thing the other day where I showed that when we did the temple, the ruined temple. Was it early this week? I'm running out of brain room, Justin. Was it Monday, Tuesday, or was it Tuesday, Wednesday? It was Terrain Tuesday. It was when I. Yeah.
We didn't call it Terrain Tuesday, but yes, it was Tuesday.
Oh, you should have called it Terrain Tuesday. It was Terrain.
It was, but I wanted it to have its own and special spinoff.
Oh man! All right, so I did this on Terrain Tuesday slot this week, and I did Did I put it over there? I did put it over there. 1 second. I'm leaving the camera to go and get my example because I put it across the room. 1 second. My house is in a shambles because I am moving. It's a wonder I can put fingers on anything. Here I am. We came back with our stuff. There, basing examples. And do I have any other basing? Yeah, I do. Hold on. Haha! I can totally put you guys on hold for a second while I run and get models from across the room. It's awesome. But I do actually have an example of cork basing I did previously. And this guy. Alright. So, okay. Some of these are bigger models, some of them are not. I do not have any really huge models because all the big stuff I've done has been busts for the most part. The really big stuff, I mean, except for Soldier 76, and he just got a plain base. I didn't base him on terrain. Let me put my earplug back in so I can listen to Justin's sultry tones. Alright, now. The bonus of having Anne at home. Yes, exactly, it is. All right, so let's talk about basing. So yeah, I am a very lazy baser, and so I should use PVA glue, but most of the time I don't even know where my PVA glue is. And also I'm impatient, so I end up using super glue. I also, to be honest, like the way that super glue makes the gravel mound up on itself. It's a lot more natural than than just having it flat. So for bases where I want it flatter, like Miss Werewolf here, then I'm gonna put down a puddle of super glue and take like just a piece of brass rod or the end of a sculpting tool I don't use, and I'm just gonna spread out the glue to make sure that it's not kind of pooling. If it's pooling, you get this mounding effect. And if you spread it flat, you get a flat effect. And in either case, it's going to dry a lot faster than PVA glue. Now, what I will do is either put a layer of PVA or wood glue, or whatever you know your water-soluble glue equivalent is, down over the top to hold the gravel in place, or I will just paint over it. Putting a layer of paint over the top of your gravel is just as good as gluing it down. And paint and glue have a lot chemically in common. If you ever talk to a surfaces chemist about it, they will tell you they are pretty much the same thing. So paint equals glue and glue equals paint. So if you want to glue down your gravel, just putting a layer of paint over it is suffices in most cases. So yeah, so I should use PVA glue. I usually don't because I'm impatient. So I would use just a normal. I usually use Zap-A-Gap or Loctite. Zap-A-Gap I like because it's more fluid, so I will use the green CA label. And this is a more fluid paint, or glue, but that means that I can spread it a lot easier so that it makes a very thin layer. Whereas with the Loctite formula that I like for some stuff, which is the blue Ultra Gel Control, the Loctite is very much more gel. So that would not do as well because the gravel wouldn't soak in to the glue quite as well. The glue wouldn't soak in and surround the gravel. This has some capillary action. So that's where I can get the mounding effect, which I like. So yeah. Now, if I was doing a gigantic, yeah, pretty much. Well, no, not actually, Ground Zero. I have more. But yeah, so for a gigantic base, I might not use super glue, but I probably would still for this sort of thing because I tend to use the cork, and this is also cork, by the way, these big pieces of masonry here. So you can disguise them quite well, and they give you some beautiful texture that you can play on. But usually I'm going to build up the center of something with cork or with Fimo or Sculpey or something. I like Fimo a little bit better, or Super Sculpey better than regular Sculpey. But I'm going to build up the center of the base, and then I'm just going to be using gravel in small places rather than doing a huge expansive base with a ton of gravel on it because, frankly, that's boring. The other thing you should know is always put in your rocks first, and then put your gravel down. Like, your gravel should be the last step, except for maybe flocking, like grasses or using some sort of turf to suggest greenery, because you want those rocks to look buried in the gravel, partially buried in the gravel, because essentially they've been sitting there and weathering has been happening, and so the soil builds up around them, or they just get exposed by erosion and they're still surrounded mostly by soil. So that's why you do your rocks first, and then you put on your gravel. Let me look. I've got my Golden Demon, my first Golden Demon winner. This is an old model, guys. Old. Are you ready for really seriously old model? So, all right. So this is my first ever Golden Demon winner, and I kept him all these years. So this was from 2002, Baltimore. He needs some touch-ups in a big way. But, so he's on a little Sculpey thing. I wanted to put him on a base, and I did not want to do, this was pretty much standard for GW bases at the time. So I sculpted a little promontory for him to stand on with Sculpey. So that's just an example, even with small models. And for a bigger model, Sculpey is even better. I mean, Fimo is not that expensive compared to green stuff. So it's actually workable to do that. Let's see here. Oh, we have some mislabeling. Did you see Jetta Rose's comment, Justin?
Let's see.
It's the last comment in chat right now. We have mislabeling. It looks like Terrain Tuesday got labeled with Ferret and vice versa.
Oh boy. Yeah, I can go and fix that.
He's totally been sick. He has an excuse. And then the other one I'm going to show you is a piece I did. I love Confrontation Wolfen. Those of you who come to ReaperCon have seen my Wolfie guy. So this base is cork. And I've built up snow on it, and I worked his integral base into it. Was pretty easy to do so. So it shows you that you can build up a very large surface very quickly just with using a few layers of cork. And if you and these are actual layers, but I've disguised them. I've taken pieces and glued them back in, and I've gouged out some pieces in some layers so that you can't actually see the levels of cork in this. But it really is. It was very simple to do. And so it's just like a little bit, it's a matter of disguising. You can see the slant right there. So yeah, you do have to bake Sculpey or Fimo. That's why I tend to use cork, Dr. Bob, if I have to go crazy. Yeah, this is Vargar from the Confrontation game. Confrontation's been out of print for ages, and the models are solid metal, at least the originals were, and so they are expensive, but I still have a ton of Wolfen because I love them, because I'm into werewolves, in case you haven't noticed. But yeah, so when I want to build up something fast, I'm going to use cork. And then I'm going to just use Aves or green stuff to modify and enhance that cork and gravel and everything else to build it up fast. If I have time to bake, or I want something that's a lot more elaborate, like if I really need specific shapes and stuff, Dr. Bob, then I might use Fimo. To do that, if I really needed, like if I needed this cobblestone kind of texture, and didn't want to just use separate pieces of plastic card to build it up or something, then I would seriously consider doing the Sculpey. Even though it needs baking, still could. Yes, I'm into all sorts of wolves. My little related to a wolf distantly, prehistorically dog is lying there asleep, listening to me rattle on to you guys. So yeah, so for big models, do use basing to like raise parts of the model. If you use cork, the other great thing is that you can actually carve it. So you can actually carve like a river or a stream into the sides of the cork, build it up so that you could do a little water course running down through your base. And that is that's a great way to break stuff up. Think about in addition to the area that the creature, monster, or dinosaur would have actually been in, like what landscaping do you need for your campaign? If you don't actually care about naturalism. Also remember that using different types of scenery makes your base a lot more visually and just mentally interesting. So like employing a water effect or using fallen logs in addition to stones and grass. All of these things enhance the I call it kind of the feeling of place. Like you're putting the model in a specific place. It has features. Even using like fallen masonry or statues or stuff like that. There are models that include those things. In this case, like the Temple Dragon comes with a little statue that I actually glued onto my base here because this one got broken off. And columns and things like that. Some companies make scenery bits that can be used. Let's see here. I have no idea, KBS Noel, what that product is or how it works. I mean, honestly, I would just use a knife. Bones are so easy to slice apart. A knife or a jeweler's saw, I guess, might work, although it could get kind of grindy. But yeah, that's one I don't know. I just honestly slice things apart if I need them sliced apart. I tend not to futz around with chemicals. But yeah, so no marbles today because we have discovered that I cannot do them from home. I would have to have Reaper's master password to their Twitch and use it, and we aren't interested in doing that. So no marbles. And this is the free, so there is no free. On my show in the mornings, the free is when we get to 30 subs, I do one of these AMAs. And I talk to you guys and answer your questions. And the questions can be put in our Reaper Discord in the Questionable and channel. And I've gotten through a lot today, like almost 13 questions. We're getting there. Green stuff rollers. You know what? Brian Pearsall, my friend, is really expert at that, and I need to get better at them because I want to sculpt some cloth coming up. And I think green stuff rollers are definitely like where it's at when you're trying to do realistic cloth. So am I a fan yet? No. Am I very interested in learning how to do it? Yes. I haven't done enough sculpting to really have messed with the green stuff rollers yet. Yeah. Sorry, Brennar. I love marbles too, but I just can't do it remotely. It's not a good fix. Alrighty. Justin actually is remote today, Rox, or he could do it, but he is sick, and so he's at home. And so he cannot, I believe, right? Can you run? You can't run marbles because it's not your stream, or
I could run marbles and people could enter, but you would have to take my word on who won. Like I couldn't give you my feed.
Oh, like I couldn't watch.
Actually, that's not true. There is a way we could do it. I could stream it on Discord. You could then screen cap Discord of you watching me stream it.
Ugh.
Technically, we could do it. It's roundabout, but we
No.
could do it.
No.
It's not going to happen today, but it's something we could
No.
consider in the future.
Oh Lord, that's way too much work for marbles. Sorry, I think way too much work for marbles. Oh yeah, and yeah, green stuff stamps and all that kind of thing. And yeah, there are a whole bunch of. There's a company that made terrain mats that were essentially molds to press green stuff into and get like little rock features, plant features. I still like to use, like, I really like the Woodland Scenics. I think it's a deadfall pack, but it's a bunch of little twigs of all different sizes and shapes that make great fallen trees. So I really like those because they give you, they aren't attached wholly to the base, right? You can use them to be more three-dimensional. So I like those better. All right, let's see here. What's next? Maybe I'll base a big creature at some point in the future. That could be kind of fun. Planer. Planer asked about a set of paints recommended for chibi painting. All right, I think these are kind of weird. This is a kind of weird concept that the industry's got into with chibi painting, like that you have to have particular colors for it. I would use the same colors I use for everything else for chibi painting. I don't know that I would change it up. The only difference I might do is to use the bright skin triad for skin, or at the very least the rosy skin triad for skin, because those are a little bit more cartoony. So if you're looking for that cartoony look for chibis, I might recommend that. So I might use bright skin and bright skin shadow, or bright skin shadow and rosy skin, depending on if you're doing a male or a female model. But otherwise for chibis, I don't think that there's a right or wrong way, or even a particular selection of colors. You can use any colors on them. If you want to use more primary colors, then you certainly can. I mean, you can just keep it simple, right? Use the first 54 paints from the core line, or only use Bones. Bones is a very saturated, colorful line of paints, so that would work great. Cut and paste from the Twitch chat. Oh, okay. Cool, thanks, Planer. But yeah, so for chibis, I really feel like you can use whatever. And if you decide that I want to just use a particular paint line, then a Bones line would be a pretty good choice. And then I might pick up rosy skin and bright skin shadow for skin tones, just to make them, to create a more saturated, more cartoony skin tone. You can still use regular skin tones for chibis, and I think it looks fine. I'm not a fan of the very, very cartoony chibis, actually. I like them painted in a more realistic style, but that's just me. I like realism. So, your mileage may vary. Let's see here. Oh yeah, Ren, Bird with a Brush. Rhonda, we've been doing this cool marbles game that's Marbles on Stream that is essentially a VR. It's like uses real physics engine and puts everybody as a marble in a race, and then they go down a map, and there are pins that throw you in the air and off the track, and there are jumps, and oh my god, it's so fun. So yeah, it's super fun, but I can't run it from home. So if we're going to run it on my stream, we have to run it from Reaper, or after I move, we may have to figure out another way to do it, because it is super fun. Let's see here. I'm on the last page. Woohoo! I'm going to skip over this one to the very end because it's so complicated. So first, the easy stuff. Evil Halfling and actually Neurocog seconded this on the Discord. What's a good color for phthalo green or blue since the triad is sold out? Well, now you're going to run into problems, because the problem with phthalo green and blue is you cannot mix them. They are primary pigments. The best you can do is get close, but you're never gonna, you can't, it's like trying to mix a red from other colors. You can't do it. Only red pigment is red. So you can't mix clear red from anything else. Clear red is clear red. It's single pigment, clear base. So essentially what I can do is tell you functionality, as far as functionally wise, paints that you would use similarly. I would use clear blue to stand in for clear phthalo blue. Clear phthalo blue, however, is more greenish than clear blue, so do keep that in mind. That's part of the phthalo blues come in two different hues. One is a red phase and one is a green phase, and the green phase is warmer and the red phase is cooler. And our traditional clear blue is a red phase, so that's what you're going to run into there. Whereas the clear phthalo is the green phase. That's your difference. Let's see. Yeah, it is more fun than just doing the hashtag. I agree, Dr. Bob. I do think so. If we can make it work without a huge pain in the butt, then I'm up for it. But we'll have to figure it out. Let's see. All right. So clear blue is easy. Clear green, less so. Or phthalo green, less so. Again, phthalo green is its own pigment. Clear green is not the same, as it is a warmer green. So the phthalo blue is obviously very blue. What I would do if I was looking for a color similar, and I needed that distinctive blue push, is the only thing I would use those for is like, or common things I would use that color for is like verdigris on bronze or brass, or copper. And in that case, peacock green, which is 9226, is actually a fair substitute. It's not a clear. You won't get the vibrancy, but it is a bluish green that, if you add white to it, is very good for building up verdigris effects. I use it straight up, and then I add a little bit of white to get a slightly lighter effect. I use peacock for verdigris all the time. So phthalo green is a different beast, and I like it for a lot of different things, including mixing really vibrant teals. But peacock is a close color, but not close usage. So yeah, we're just gonna have to keep bugging Ed about. He keeps saying we can put out a ReaperCon paint set, and you guys should remind Sadie to bug Ed about this, and then you should bug Ed about it on Reaper Live tonight. If it's going, is it going, Justin? Reaper Live is on.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Collins is running it for me, thankfully.
Sweet. So bug Ed tonight about the ReaperCon Colors paint set, so that you can all get your phthalo blues and greens and your oranges. Don't forget your clear orange. Because sunrise orange can be used, in the meantime, but clear orange is still clear orange. You just don't get the clarity that you would get from other colors. All right, second to last question. Difference between solid white, pure white, and dragon white. What's the difference between the whites? All right, so let's see here. Dragon white, let's do that first. It's a slightly different base treatment. It's got slightly different amounts of additives and different pigment amount than the other whites, but otherwise it is a good stand-in for pure white. If you don't want to buy pure white and you've got dragon white, feel free to stick with dragon white. Pure white, as I've said before, is our original base formulation. So it is the base formulation for all of core, pretty much, for lighter colors. It is also our highest pigmented white. So that is the one that I use by choice. That's just what I want. The solid white is a different white base entirely. It is actually a different base from anything else in our lines. I was looking for a way to switch up white. Like I said earlier this AMA, I don't like to put out exactly the same thing under a different name. So I always try to change a few things up so that maybe the usage will be slightly different and you guys can get a different usage out of it. So since the HD lines thing was coverage, I went looking for a higher coverage white base that would still be good, thinned, and everything else. So solid white is that base. So although it may seem a little bit more fluid and the texture is slightly different than our other paints, it does cover very well. So if you need white to cover over something, like if you're underpainting under an area that you're going to glaze with a bright color or paint a bright color over, then solid white can be your thing. So they are all different. I would say that dragon white and pure white are less different from each other, and mostly it's the additives and the pigment load that is different between those two. Let's see here. Okay, last, most complicated question. Amish cab driver, you asked about the color spectrum for blued steel and how to approach painting it. And then you sent a reference photo, which is really out of this world. So let's bring that reference photo right up on my phone and show people how crazy you expect me to be here. Hold on, let me find it. I have been taking lots of pictures to send to Ron, so... Oh, did I not save it? Don't tell me that I didn't save it. Dang it! I know that I saved this. All photos. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Sweet. And we're going to go to Cam. All right. This is crazy. Who on earth would want... Oh, I'm going to turn my light off. Who on earth would want to paint this? Oh my gosh. All right. So this is blued steel. You can see some of the areas that are steel colored. Here, and here. This color you're probably getting from an application of linseed oil or other oil added over the top of the steel. I'm going to guess just because of the color and the finish. And then you've got this bright blue popping up where the steel has been heated. So I'm going to tell you, you can do this. Yeah, it is beautiful. But you can do this with all of our metallics. So what I would use for this one is honed steel. I would probably base coat the entire thing in black. And I would make a note of, like, you can see kind of how you would do the brush strokes, right? Radiating out. In this case, it's a leaf, so it's got texture that are radiating out from that area. But use the brush strokes. You might start with a slightly darker. You might even want to start with adamantium. Yeah, start with adamantium black for these really dark places. Then take your steel and probably brush it. You know, if you've got a photo reference, make a note. Here, it seems to me that the steel is mostly on the insides of things. And on the outer petals and toward the outside is where you're getting the bronzy color and the blue color. You can even see that up here. Oh, you can see in the middle of the leaf there's the silver, then there's the bronzy color, then there's the bluish color. And then you probably would do the edges, it looks like, in a steel color again. So honed steel, this is definitely scorched metal. Scorched metal is the exact color that steel takes on when it is coated in linseed oil and then a torch or heat source is applied to it. So heated with oil on it will give you this. So that is 9125. And the honed steel is 9053. And then this, I would just go straight to sparkling blue, our blue metallic, 9104. So you do the interior sections in your honed steel. Remember, coat the whole thing with adamantium black. That's 9124. And then you would go to the scorched metal, and you could just kind of brush these over each other, you know, depending on what surface you're working on. But up here on this top part, you can see you could start with the steel, and then you could brush a little bit of that scorched metal kind of around it. You could let them kind of run into each other. And then likewise, on the outside here, you can go up for the blue, the sparkling blue, 9104. So actually a lot easier than you think. The problem is going to be placement, but like if this was a breastplate, then I would probably say invert it. That looks like a breastplate. I would keep the top part or the center part, the steel. I would start working into the scorched metal down below. You could mix the steel with the scorched metal to get this color here. Then I would just do the edges coming in with that blue fluorescing. That's what I would do. So yeah. Actually, in NMM, it'd be even easier. Shadow Raven, you just got to think about your colors. But for me, it would be easier in NMM. But yeah, like really, then it's just isolating what these colors are, right? You already have to have a good reddish brown for this color with a little bit of yellow. I might need to muck around and figure out exact colors. The blue is easy. The blue is just clear blue with white, or cyan. Although it's a little bit ultramarine-y, so I might go with ultramarine shadow. But yeah, I mean, and then the gray steel is easy. So yeah, I mean, I would probably not do this on anything just because I can't see like I go for naturalism. So for me, this is like a specific art color. So you'd have to, the only time I would ever want to reproduce this on a miniature would be if somebody's wearing a very artistic suit of armor where I could see that maybe they decided that it was pretty and they wanted to keep it that way. Or if it's a magical suit of armor, then I might think about doing it because it definitely has that magical, mystical quality to it. But otherwise, I tend to go more for realism in my stuff. That's what I enjoy. So I don't know that I would actually try this. But it's a very pretty visual reference, and thank you. Thank you for the pretty visual reference. Now I know, now I have it in case I ever do decide to go crazy and try to NMM something like this. I'm thinking, actually, because that's probably ruddy leather right there. You know, I could probably figure it out, but yeah, you could do.
Prime, Lady
Oh,
Diana.
yay! Now we're up to 14. We're almost halfway
Yes.
to our next AMA. Because I think this is about where I'm going to end it. I think we're almost, we're afternoon. But yeah, so that was a pretty cool photo reference. You can find that photo reference should you want to try it on the Discord. He actually linked to it, so you can snag it for yourself. So thank you for that reference, Amish Cab Driver. And I think we are pretty good. Let's switch back to Facecam. Facecam. All right. Yeah. Actually, Maldrak, that's a great idea. Like Chaos Armor, it would be fantastic on Chaos Armor. Like you'd almost want to use it. You'd want to use it for Tzeentch, I think, just because of the blue and the color shifting. That would be very Tzeentchy. Yep. Yeah, I survived taking Dragonfire to the face. No, I don't want you to polish the damage out. Yeah, Silverthorn. That's what you got. That's when you level up. Your armor actually levels up because it got experience. So yeah, so there were all your first, like the first 13 questions. I think it takes us up through like the 25th of February. So my next set of questions will be going forward from that, and as long as we keep getting subs, we'll catch up eventually. But I'm really happy about all of the those were all very answerable questions, except for a couple. So and then we've got a couple of ideas then for future shows. Like if I end up taking Ed's Terrain Tuesday again, maybe I will actually I'll pick up one of the DVD sized bases at Reaper and show you kind of how I mocked together a big base for a big model. I'll have to figure out a big model I want to put on it.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll probably use Cork because it's super fun and easy, and maybe I'll do like I might be able to. The problem is I think I packed a lot of my fancy basing stuff, like my water effects stuff, or I would totally show you how to do a stream using that sort of thing. Yeah, you got to put yellow is my official favorite color, yellow Maladrak, but purple is a close second. There's a freebie. And for specifics, it changes because everybody gets in color ruts. You are all familiar with this. I am certain that you all have been in color ruts. We all get in this like my boyfriend is in a total red and teal color rut, and I'm in a total purple and gold color rut. See, yellow and purple. Noticing anything? So I told him the other night that we either had to exchange color ruts for a model, or we had to paint something coming up that is very much out of our color rut, so that we can try to break the endless cycle of painting in the same colors all the time. And I find that's useful to kind of break it up here and there. Let's see. I think that's it. All right. I think that is where we're going to call it. Justin, do you have a raid for us?
Yes, I do.
Who are we raiding?
Jimmy the Brush. They
Yay!
actually just started streaming.
Awesome. Fantastic timing. We haven't raided Jimmy for a while.
No, we have not.
Good.
Spread the Reaper love. Keep being awesome,
Yeah,
guys.
woo!
And
Bye, guys.
I'll be watching alongside you guys this afternoon, as well as Reaper Live.
Okay, yeah, and don't forget, is Sadie's show on at 3?
Yes, it is.
All right, so Painting Platinum at 3, Reaper Live tonight at 6, and then the next time I will be on is Monday morning at 11. So I'll see you guys then.
Correct. All right, guys. Thank you very much. See you guys.